Discovering the power of the Holy Spirit for my own life, that's the single greatest lesson I've ever learned. I mean, I practice spiritual breathing every day, sometimes spiritually hyperventilate. Maybe you can relate. You know, the Apostle Peter was a great example for this. I mean, here's a guy who says to Christ, I got your back. I mean, I am there for you. Even if everybody else takes off, I'll die for you. And within hours, what's he do but deny Christ 3 times? You know, that gives me a lot of hope because I can relate to Peter. I mess up all the time. And yet when the Holy Spirit comes, Peter is bold as all get out. He leads thousands of people to Christ, and Christ builds his church upon this guy. He says, you're going to help build my church. I look forward to God using me as I spiritually breathe, but it's not pretty when I'm not walking in the power of the Holy Spirit. As we continue now, we're going to jump into what does it mean to share our faith, live out our faith to those in our world who don't yet know Christ. The title for this session is The Pack, the Parrot, and the Pass, and it reflects 3 human behavior patterns that we all exhibit in conversations with people. Now, if we understand these patterns and can navigate them well, we're going to have more and better conversations. And really, conversations are the building block of relationships. And relationships are the foundation of every opportunity we have to really share Christ. But before we get into that, let's take some time to pray for the people on our friends list and prepare our hearts for what God has to say for us. One of Jesus' most powerful illustrations of how we should engage people with the gospel occurred when he called the Apostle Peter on the Sea of Galilee. If you recall, he had just filled Peter's boat with fish, and Peter saw this miracle, and he looked, and he was astounded, and Jesus looks to him and says, "Come follow me, I will make you a fisher of men." What a great example to you and I today on how we should engage people with that very same gospel message. You see, fishing is all about attraction. Basically offer the fish what they need in an attractive way and you'll have more success. In the same way, the more quality conversations that you and I can have with people to go to a deeper relationship, the more opportunity we're going to have to share Christ with them. You and I are basically Christ's representatives, his lure. Ready to go? When it comes to starting and maintaining great conversations, we fight against one of mankind's greatest fears, the fear of public speaking. Now, we're not talking to a large audience, but the same general emotions are there when we meet new people. Fear of rejection, what am I going to say, and just a general discomfort. For some of us, this is agonizing, and we can relate to the great 21st century philosopher, Jerry Seinfeld, where he was talking about this incapacitation of people when it comes to public speaking. He said, you know, when you boil it all down, you'd rather be in the coffin than giving the eulogy. We want to help you with that. And we're going to go through the first 3 steps of our process, the keys to great conversation. The first step in our process is the pack. Now, the pack represents our tendency to cluster or go into groups. Think of any major city. Where do we call a place where people from Chinese background go? Chinatown. Or how about Little Italy? Well, in a microcosm, as human beings, we tend to gather with people we know already and feel comfortable with. So think of the last wedding or business function you were at. Did you notice how people clustered together? This affords an opportunity for us to really go deeper into a new level of conversation. Because no one really wants to get to know someone new, you're the one who has to start. There's 2 things that will make you successful at this level. 1, you have to take a risk. You need to say or do something that will take you to another step with this person. So what's a risk? A risk may be simply walking up and saying, "Hi, my name is Ian," and extending your hand. That's it. But for some people, this is terribly difficult to do. But the second thing you need to do is to assume the burden of conversation. learn how to carry it forward. Have you ever been in a tough conversation with someone where you say, so, where do you live? And they say, Canada. Or what do you do? And they go, work. And it's all really boring. And you're going, oh, I want out of this. That's why it's called a burden. You need to assume that burden. If you have a few great questions at this point, low level, low risk questions, they can catapult you to deeper conversations. So for instance, when I fly, my favorite question is, are you coming or going? Anybody who flies a lot completely understands that. If I'm at a wedding, I'll always say something like this. So who do you know, the bride or the groom? In this situation, I'm looking for common ground. And from there, the conversation can blossom. Become a student of great questions and you will become a master of great conversation. The second step in our process is called the parrot. And I love this very powerful and often overlooked truth. Basically, this reflects the fact that in initial conversation, we parrot back to one another the same 3 to 5 questions. So things like, well, what do you do? Where are you from? You know, what's your name? They're always back and forth. If we can understand this, then we're able to take a conversation to a deeper level by basically changing our answers. Think about it. Jesus said we're fishers of men. So if you think of your answer to the question, what do you do, as sort of your lure, then you design it in such a way that it attracts somebody to a deeper conversation. For years, you've probably been using the same bait. Something like, I'm an accountant, or I'm a doctor, or a teacher, whatever it is. And you've been getting the same response from people because they know what you are. They put you in a box and it doesn't elicit any further curiosity on their behalf. We have to come up with some new answers to this question. And it will take us to a whole new level with them. Jesus' favorite description for people was lost. They were harassed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. This is their real spiritual state of being. But our society tells us to hide all that we need to be strong, we need to put on a good face. And so mistakenly, we think that our friends and colleagues and other people have no interest in or need for a relationship with Jesus Christ.
I'm not a Christian. You know, I don't know what my spiritual journey, where it's going to lead to. I'm definitely on a spiritual journey. I don't know if I'll step over that line or it'll be a different line or I'll stay where I am. Definitely not content where I am, but yeah, no, I'm going to be on a spiritual journey, Christian or not. You know, it comes down to the fact that if you're passionate about what you believe in, or if you're passionate about being a Christian, then talk about it. You know, from what I've heard and you know what you need to become to be a born again Christian, for example, it's a pledge of an allegiance, so to speak. So if you're not passionate or proud of it and you're not going to speak of it, I mean, chances are most people aren't going to believe you anyways. And then you've got to go home and take a look at yourself and say, am I? Am I not? Am I proud of this? Why did I choose this path?
Knowing the fact that people are spiritually lost enables us to create answers to everyday questions that God could use to burst their bubble. So for instance, the question, what do you do? Well, you could answer it, well, I'm an accountant or a teacher. But again, it may not cause them to ask anything more. But you are far more than just an accountant or a teacher. What are your passions? What do you volunteer for? All those sorts of things. In my life, when people ask me, what do you do? I could say I work for a non-profit Christian organization. I run the risk that maybe Christian is a hot word for them and they really don't want to talk any further. So I say I help people move from success to significance in their lives. That's the truth. A friend of mine's a photographer. He says he's a memory maker. He helps capture both the good and the bad memories in people's lives. It opens up great conversation. An electrician says, I bring energy to everyday life. That's powerful. Your answer needs to have 2 components. One, it needs to be short, no more than 1 sentence, because the law of permission and social norms say that you can't say that much until you have a deeper permission level and trust with the person you're talking to. Secondly, ensure that your answer addresses the heart more than the head. So use emotional words like help and hope and dream. And trust God that He will use your answer to probe the heart of this individual. Before we move on, here's a little exercise to help you improve your lure. What you can do is ask for a volunteer in your group, or if no one volunteers, somebody be bold enough to select somebody else. And so you'll get up and you'll say, hey, my name's Billy, and this is what I do. That's it. Now the rest of you, you're going to pretend that you just met Billy. I don't care where, maybe it's on a plane or a bus. Think of a situation. Ask yourself this. Did Billy's answer to the question, what do you do, cause you inside to go, that's an interesting answer. What do you mean by that? If it does cause you to do that, just raise your hand in the group. Just signify, yeah, Billy, I want to know more. Now, if it doesn't, then just keep your hand down. Afterward, discuss among yourselves why it was that some of you wanted to say, yeah, continue on, and some didn't. Could he have used different words? Was he too long-winded? What was it? Try this with one another, practicing, and then as you get up, go away and work on your presentation a little more, sharpen your lure, and bit by bit, we'll all get better. Remember, you can always change your lure depending upon the fish you're after. And in the same way, you can change the answer to the question, what do you do, depending upon the person you're talking to and their interests. My buddy Tim here, he's after an entirely different fish than I am, and frankly, if I knew what I was doing, I might join him. There's a couple of questions you may be asking right now. The first one is this. Ian, right now it seems a little, kind of salesman-like that all these great answers and we understand a process and so forth and just feeling a little uncomfortable. Well, guess what? All of life is a series of sales. Putting your kids to bed at night, well, that's a sales presentation. The great thing about this is that Jesus Christ is something that everyone needs. And we should become extremely, extremely well prepared at being able to help people understand how they can know Him personally. So yeah, in a way, we are selling Him. In fact, Paul tells us in the Word that he persuades men that they would come to know Christ. The other thing that happens is we go, well, okay, but these answers seem really cheesy, kind of odd and awkward, and that is a great criticism. Given in the wrong context or without the right perspective and thought process, any answer can sound really cheesy. But the more we listen to the Holy Spirit, the better we'll get at this. In fact, the definition of conversations, successful conversations, is taking the initiative in the power of the Holy Spirit to start a conversation with anyone and leaving the results up to God. Remember, the Holy Spirit is the foundation of all the success we have in this process.
So what do you do?
I'm a personal financial planner.
So what do you do?
Well, I meet with people on a one-to-one basis and take a close look at what they hold most dear, making them realize that money is the root of all evil. Or wait a minute, is it the love of money that's the root of all evil, or is it the love of evil that's just like money? I don't know. Anyway, diversify, 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 and hold things loosely.
So what do you do?
I talk with people about their goals and their dreams and how money, especially their perception of money, can help or hinder them.
The third step in our process is called the pass. Now, this is a sports term that reflects how when a team is in the offensive end, they will pass the puck or the ball around until such a time as they get a shot on net, a clear shot on net. Well, in our conversation, you may get to a point where the individual will back away from spiritual things. That's okay. Cycle the conversation back around to the beginning. Go to small talk, other issues, trusting God that you may get another opportunity to go to a deeper level. It's a relationship. Enjoy the process. We've just gone through a lot of great information and exercises designed to help you burst your bubble. Now it's your turn. The more conversations you have with people, the greater a chance you're going to have them ask a question such as, tell me about the reason for the hope that's within you. No, they're not going to say that. That's the biblical way. But they will say something like, why did you get involved in that organization or that volunteer position, or why are you so passionate for your work? This represents an opportunity to move to level 4 in our process, your life story. Next week, we're going to jump in and we're going to help you find and develop your life story. In the meantime, take some opportunity to use your lure this week and see if you don't get a few more conversations going.